Welcome to Time Sync, the weekly podcast to let you know what's worth sinking your time into. I'm your host, Sauce, and we're joined by Mr. Hummer.
Sauce, quick question for you. We're in a zone. It's kind of dangerous. We're in the danger zone.
There's a Top Gun reference, right?
Well,
both.
Top Gun and
Two things can be true.
two things can be true here.
And Brad.
Hey guys, I'm drinking tonight, so things better get weird.
Oh, they already are.
We got a real wet episode for you this week.
Ooh, it's wet.
It's
so
a WAP.
wet.
It's a WAP.
It's a wet-ass
Ooh.
podcast.
We might have done something there.
What if we call it damp? DAP.
It's
Damp,
Yeah.
damp ass podcast.
that
Is
one
that
makes
better than wet?
No, that
Is
makes me more uncomfortable.
Good.
It means it's like always wet. It never dries. There's never a point where it dries up.
What about
There's
moist?
never a point
You need-
where
you
it
need
like
some good
calms
map.
down.
What about good map? Moist.
Everyone loves that word.
For sure. Yeah. So we got a real wet ass episode for you this week.
Moist.
This week, we're going to talk about South Park, the pandemic special, Midway, Birds of Prey, Challenger Final Flight on Netflix. We're going to talk about Enola Holmes, Star Wars Squadron, Mario 35, Fall Guys, and my correct and only order to watch the MCU movies in. So stick around. We got a real wet episode. So Hummer, tell us about the pandemic special, the South Park pandemic special.
I can't believe you guys didn't watch it.
I just don't really watch South Park that much anymore. Like, if I come across it, maybe I'll watch it, but like, it's not something I'm like, I gotta sit down and watch anymore. Hasn't been that way for a long time, probably.
Yeah, I haven't watched it in forever.
I'm actually kind of glad you said that because I honestly feel for the hype that it's getting. It was meh. It was okay. I feel like it's like you knew exactly where you were going, but at the same time, you're like kind of like, it was one of the first times it was like they actually took politics and made it like polarizing, in a way where it wasn't like this is clear and obvious that this is dumb. It wasn't a douche and a turd sandwich. So I don't know. It was just different. I feel like
What was the premise of the episode? Because I didn't even look at all.
It's funny if you haven't watched South Park in a while, it honestly may not make sense to you, but Randy Marsh has started a pot farm called Tegrity Farms, and his weed gives you tegrity, and they've been doing basically these specials throughout it. So like they've done a Christmas special, they've had one where he's going to China and he's trying to sell the weed to Chinese, but then he gets censored and so then he's angry. But they actually tie it into this episode where the pandemic basically starts because they do a flashback of Randy with Mickey Mouse getting really drunk in China, partying, and eating a bat in a market. And they think it's a bat, so they think Randy's the one who started the pandemic. But then
Classic.
like it wasn't started from a bat. So then Randy freaks out again, and he goes into a little flashback, and they finally figure out what critter it was. So Randy goes to steal the critter, and he gets try not to ruin too much of the plot here, but essentially he defiles the critter at some point in the show, and so he thinks that his jizz is the cure to COVID. So he infects all of his pandemic special Tegrity Farms marijuana with his seed.
With ectoplasm.
His ectoplasm.
We'll
It just kind
refer
of
to it
goes,
as
and it just
ectoplasm.
starts to spiral out of control, and it really follows Randy's path towards, curing COVID. And it also then has a parallel storyline with Kyle and Cartman and Stan, where Cartman is pissed off that they're going to send the kids back to school. So Cartman is doing everything in his power to get school canceled, where the police officers have now been taking over the role as teachers because they've all quit their jobs due to Black Lives Matters. And so they parody that by killing a student in the school. It's still classic. It's still funny. I'm not saying it's terrible. It was just like, okay, all right, I see where this is going. And so, I mean, it's funny. It's
I
definitely
say it's the premise sounds strong, especially for being so current.
I'm just not. I can't give it a 5, even though it's like it's one of those pandemic specials. It is very much tied to the current political climate. Like this may not be relevant in potentially a month or 5 months. So like if you're not going to watch it now, don't worry about it. But if you do want to laugh at some current events, check it out. So that's where.
Well, Trey
I haven't given away the ending. I just gave away the entire premise, but not the ending.
So Trey Parker and Matt Stone have said they will do that show until somebody tells them they can't anymore. And even they admit that they think video games are a better outlet for the future of South Park. So, I mean, the last 2 games were I didn't finish either of them, but they were both pretty fun from what I did play. And it felt like a good outlet for the like South Park storytelling right now. So if they do end up going full that route, I think they'll continue to see success with it. I wish they would do another movie. I know they hate making them, but they've crushed some of their movies. Other than Cannibal, with the musical, which was their first movie, all their other movies have been pretty great.
I mean, at an hour long, they were 2/3 of the way to a 90-minute movie.
That's true. Yeah.
All right. So what is Midway?
Midway is a World War II movie.
I was going to say, you don't know your history, bro?
The Battle of Midway. And
I'm just being the host.
the movie, I actually like this movie. The acting could have been, but wasn't too strong.
Who's in it? I haven't. I think I saw a trailer once and I completely forgot about this movie.
One time.
Ed, I have to always read his name. Skrein, Ed Serkin, Patrick Wilson, and Woody Harrelson. The cast itself is like strong, like it is, and the only reason I say that the acting is weak at times is because the lead actor, who is supposed to have a Southern accent, is in fact from Australia, and the Australian accent comes out. He does not know how to do a Southern accent in any way, shape, or form. But if you get past that, the movie is actually really good. The story is really good. It's not just constant action scenes. There is actual like dialogue. There's good storytelling in it. But the action scenes, for that matter, are amazing. Like they're visually beautiful. And it's pretty, from my understanding, when I watch a historical movie, I don't know if you guys do this, but I find myself Wikipediaing or Googling like how true is the movie to the actual events.
Sure, of course.
So I kind of end up reading.
You got to fact check.
Happen. And apparently, this movie gets rave reviews for how like historically accurate it actually is, in terms of like the feats that these pilots did and what had to happen to win the war. The only criticism I have of the movie is they didn't do a good enough job of explaining or getting into how early on aircraft, like this battle happened. Basically, this was only the second time I think aircraft carriers have ever actually engaged in battle. I don't think they really did a good enough job of really portraying how much each side didn't know how to utilize aircraft carriers.
Sure, like how new it was. Yeah,
and how
I don't even know
how important it was to find the other.
All that military training to waste.
I just thought that was.
I played Call of Duty.
I remember listening to Dan Carlin talking about the Battle of Midway, and this is another guy on Apple or on podcast. He does a great job with history podcasts, but he really gets into the nitty gritty about this stuff. And when you hear him talking about, like the invention of aircraft carriers and how important they were in the Pacific theater in the Second World War, I kind of wanted to see more of that. But other than that, this movie is fantastic. It's really entertaining. It actually got me to watch the original Midway, which was a documentary that was filmed on Midway Island by, I believe it was Francis Ford. Either way, it's on Netflix.
Coppola action?
Wasn't Coppola. Last name was Ford, but it's actually on Netflix. It's only 18 minutes long. Highly suggest watching it. It's just basically he has a camera and he's live filming the middle of this huge battle.
Cool.
So it's pretty cool. But the movie's cool. I'd give it a 4. It's definitely worth your time, sinking some time into it, watching it.
Are you guys always surprised like I am when there's a big World War II project that comes out that Tom Hanks isn't in? I feel like he has to be in them.
Well, that's how you know it's not a 5.
He's very outspoken about his love for World War II, which
And
is weird
space.
to be like, you know what I like? World War II, because it was a war where a lot of bad things happened. But whatever. Have your interests, I guess.
I mean, yeah, but then honestly, looking at this cast, there's no room for him. Patrick Wilson, Woody Harrelson, Luke Evans, Mandy Moore, Dennis Quaid, Nick Jonas. Not that Nick Jonas.
He was busy being quarantined in Greece for COVID and other
Woody
things that
Harrelson-
he's under investigation for.
Woody Harrelson looked just like Chester Nimitz. Like, it was insane. Like, at the end, they kind of showed what the real one looked like.
Yeah.
You're like, holy crap! No wonder they cast Woody Harrelson for the super serious part.
So that was a good casting of Woody Harrelson. An example of a bad one would be him playing Carnage. No, so
we have yet to see that.
it's gonna be bad, you know it. So on the scale of amazing military movies, where does this rank? Because some of the best ones are Saving Private Ryan and
The second one.
ones.
All right, so it's definitely. I think Saving Private Ryan is definitely a better movie, especially because the dialogue is incredible, the action scenes, but also it's not centered around any sort of love story in any way, shape, or form, which I do actually appreciate.
Refreshing.
In a good movie. It's refreshing. This one does have a little undertone because he is married in the show, so you get this. There is kind of that story about his wife, and she's being worried and everything.
My wife.
But I honestly think it's a little more refreshing than Pearl Harbor.
Well, that movie was trash. So,
but
I thought that was a rom-dram.
If you wanted to, when this movie comes out on DVD, well, I guess it's on. I could do this now. Never mind. It's on. I think it was HBO or Hulu or HBO. Doesn't matter. You could watch the opening scene of Midway. You could literally watch the opening scene of Midway, watch Pearl Harbor, and then you could finish Midway because of the way they filmed this. They actually kind of skip over Pearl Harbor in a sense because that's not what the movie's about. They mention it, they talk about it, but they go directly into what's leading up to Midway.
Did you just discover the terrible moments of American history, United Universe from movies?
They're all connected.
Yes, we
did.
It's
It's crazy.
You can literally plug these movies into each other, and you're actually going to get a nice World War II specific theater docuseries.
Oh no! The
Docu-series.
The best miniseries, one of the best of all time, is a World War II miniseries. It's Band of Brothers. Have you guys ever seen it?
Yes,
Yeah, it's
fantastic.
That's
Absolutely fantastic.
I haven't watched it in a long
Go
time.
watch it.
I don't know if it holds up, but it was
does.
super good.
It's always worth a rewatch, and because of the historical value too. It's not just you're indulging in good action and good writing, but just because these are
it's based on the stories,
real life stories of these people, and
What about Hearts of Darkness, bro?
I haven't seen that or the other movie it's based off of.
Top Gun.
Yes. Yep. Top Gun. It's based off Top Gun.
So somebody asked me.
Volleyball team.
Somebody asked me the other day. They're like, "Oh, sweet, you host a podcast where you talk about movies." I'm like, "Yeah." And so "Oh man, have you seen this and this and this?" And they're naming off all these indie artsy movies and artsy directors, and I'm like, "Bro, let me tell you something."
I'm one of the cool kids. I watch all that mainstream stuff.
Yeah, I'm so hardcore mainstream. I love big blockbuster popcorn flicks. Okay, that's my jam. I mean, I'll watch an indie movie and I'll enjoy it, and I appreciate the acting and the production, but I want to see giant things exploding in outer space.
I want Michael Bay times 10 times bigger than Michael Bay.
I want to see lens flares.
Ooh. I want $1 million CGI, and if I don't get it, I'm throwing.
Sometimes I want a $300 million remake.
Yeah, and sometimes I don't.
And sometimes I do.
Let's talk. Are we talking about giant $1 million blockbuster flops? You saw Birds of Prey, Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey, finally.
Yes, I saw Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey, and honestly, it's one of those things where it's like Aquaman. I like it. It's weird. I can't explain why. It's not
You have a crush on Margot Robbie. That's why.
That's what it is.
Don't actually.
You
think
won't
that's what
admit
it is.
anything is bad that she
Because
does.
I don't really think the makeup that she's wearing doesn't really do it for me.
But you also got a thing for Australians too, I've noticed.
Yeah. It's all
Look
right.
at your boner.
Drover.
Do they get you wet then?
That
was a terrible accent.
It was god awful. I just let you have it. I felt like you needed that today.
All right, mate. We're going down under. We're gonna have a shrimp on the barbie.
You've just offended our entire Australian audience by saying those words.
All 3 Australians. Sorry.
You can at Hummer at.
I actually was hanging out with an Australian this weekend, and every single time I've hung out with him, at some point he always says shrimp on the barbie.
Like ironically, or like
definitely
that's like important
ironically.
to him.
No, he just knows it makes him laugh, so he's got to do it.
Yeah. No, the other one I really
Cheap
like.
laugh. He knew for the cheap laugh.
Grab a tui from the esky, mate.
I don't know what any of those words meant.
It's a
What's
tui is a
all
type
this
of
then?
Australian beer, and an esky is an Australian cooler. But either way, back to the movie. We're off topic here.
Blimey.
I liked it. You guys were. I know you guys were talking a little crap about Suicide Squad, the original one, like that. It's like, okay, I like that one too.
Because
I just kind of like it that it's starting its own. It almost seems like it's its own little universe right now. You know,
which is now dead.
Which is a shame. Well, no, they're having Suicide Squad 2 come out, right?
It has nothing to do with the previous Suicide Squadness. From what I understand.
This is just stupid.
But that's not true. I guess Margot Robbie is still in it.
As long as she's in it, she's the one holding the glue together. She's the one holding this whole thing together.
It's not like Jared Leto's going to continue Joker.
Well,
as he shouldn't.
Yeah, as he shouldn't.
Okay. Thought Joker died.
Nah. That's Heath Ledger, bro.
Dude, like, stop trying to change and remake the Joker. Like, just move on to other villains. But no, sorry, you were talking about Birds of Prey and how bad it was, right?
No, I don't really think it was that bad. I thought it was entertaining.
Wow.
I thought it was funny, and it was a fun movie. It was kind of like Aquaman. Aquaman was a really terrible movie, but I just liked it. I don't know. I can't explain it. It was entertaining to watch.
And you don't have to. That's why we have opinions.
I mean, I'm not going to say like you're going out there and need to watch this movie. It's not going to be for everybody. I really don't think it's going to be for everybody.
But if you like superhero movies, that's probably one you're going to check out at some point.
You should.
No, just hard no.
I mean, I checked it out on a whim. I watched Suicide Squad like early last week after you guys talked about it. I wanted to revisit it just to see
the minorities die in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But I liked it.
That I can relate to.
So then I decided to watch Harley Quinn afterwards, and I thought it was a fun movie. I thought the whole premise of like Harley Quinn breaking up with the Joker was absolutely hysterical. That all of a sudden, people are trying to just murder the shit out of her. But then she's just like, screw it, I'm going to take it back. I'm a badass bitch, and I'm just going to kill every single
taking it back
comes at her. And I just like that. I like that storyline, and I thought they did a great job of making it fun, and
And you'd want to rub Margot Robbie's feet. We get it.
That I can understand.
I'm not hating on you for it. She needs a good foot massage. She works hard.
I fell asleep during the final battle
Rosie
of
Perez
that movie.
wasn't terrible in there either. Ewan McGregor was a really weird villain.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the weirdness of his villainry.
They took a cool villain and here's what happened is that the executives of Warner Brothers were like, oh, okay, everybody loves Margot Robbie, and for some reason also love Harley Quinn. And she does a really good job playing the character in Suicide Squad. But then they're like, well, we don't really know anything about this character, but we know Margot Robbie sells tickets. So we're going to write a shitty script and just fucking throw it up on the screen and get paid. And it's not a good script. It's the other actors don't do a great job playing the characters. They don't really develop the other characters barely at all. Yeah,
I mean, personally,
trash.
I knew I was never
which
gonna watch
characters
it.
did we really want developed? There's really only the only one I don't think they developed enough was the assassin who like Ewan's character is killed. Like he killed her family, but somehow she survived this massacre of the mob family. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, okay, like she came out of nowhere. This storyline was kind of stupid. We honestly could have not have had her in the story at all. But I thought like Rosie Perez's character was pretty well built up. I thought Margaret's character, she plays it so well. I just have fun with it. I have fun watching Harley Quinn and her antics and her just over the top like weirdness. I just have fun with it. So it's my opinion, and change my mind.
Okay, well, what are you giving it?
Oh, just a 2.5.
So yeah, that's I feel
You're
like
good
I don't
either
need
way.
to change your mind.
You're good either way. You can watch it. I think you're going to have fun. You can not watch it and you're not going to miss anything, but I don't think you're going to waste your time if you watch it. That's how I feel.
The only thing worth watching in the movie is Margaret Robbie, not because she's beautiful, obviously she is. She's actually a very talented actress and does a really good job with the character. It's just they do a horrible job with the story, so her character doesn't really do anything other than
she holds the whole movie together. Like it's very clearly she holds the movie together. If it was any, not to say Hollywood's not full of talented actresses, but if it was anybody other than Margaret Robbie playing her, this movie would have been a disaster.
I still think it is a disaster, but okay.
It's a disaster movie.
Yeah, I think Brad agrees with me.
I haven't even seen it. I mean,
I
remember the first teaser trailer when it came out, and I was like, "Oh, this looks fire." And then every subsequent trailer was like, "Oh no, oh no, oh no." So I never had any desire to pick it up.
Sorry, Hummer.
Sorry, bro.
Aquaman's dope though.
Still weird, but yes, one of my favorites. I've watched it way too many times.
I what I don't get is girls that like romanticize Harley Quinn, like getting tattoos with Daddy's Little Monster or wanting to be Harley Quinn. I don't get it.
It's a little
very
like domineering, like being
putting a like a persona out there, and there's like an idea of strength of character behind it, even if it's like male created and a little misogynistic, in my opinion.
Yeah, clearly.
But there's still a power behind it that different girls will connect to, and put that out. It's the same with the oh my, what Key and Peele did a great skit about it once, where they had a female pop star who was out giving an interview, and all the young girls were asking her really overtly sexual questions about her music, because her music was like, take it in the bud, it's all gonna be cool. So so they were asking her and she was kind of deflecting, but then she went back in her dressing room and peeled off her wig and it was a man, and he was like, yes, women appeal to my overt sexuality so men can attain it without trying too hard. And it very much has that same kind of vibe. I thought that was a brilliant skit by Key and Peele, and I think that a lot of Hollywood strong female characters tend to get that a little too hard. But I mean, at the same time, there are a lot of really good female characters out there too that we really that really should connect to. They are out there.
For sure. So speaking of strong female characters, Brad, you checked out Enola Holmes on Netflix?
Yeah, so Enola Holmes has been a absolute huge hit for Netflix. So probably they're talking about being at one of their highest grossing movies of all time. One of their one of their most successful full features of all time. They're already talking a 5-picture deal for it.
Whoa.
Yeah, so they really, really have found a lot of success with this. They have a lot of positivity coming at them about it. And honestly, it's pretty good. It's definitely a little younger audience than I feel like the early trailers really pitched, because they pitch you Henry Cavill pretty hard as Sherlock. He's really
Sold.
not the focus of the movie. He's really takes a big backseat, and they focus more on Enola, who's played by Millie Bobby Brown, who does a fantastic job. She's a terrific actress. She's very entertaining. She's very lighthearted for that Sherlock Holmes-esque kind of story. I have this big issue where she talks to camera a lot, and I'm a big believer of you have to be really careful when you break the fourth wall. You could do it for comedic purposes here and there, but if you're not making a full mockumentary, someone monologuing to camera really bothers me.
Oh, you don't like Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
I hate those moments when he's monologuing to camera. Yes. I really it's like I love how Mel Brooks does it in his movies, and like, but I hate when it's a perfect tool for explanation, really.
So you're being racist. Got it.
So
Totally.
You're saying that this is more like a mockumentary to the.
It's not a mockumentary whatsoever. It's just that the main character recognizes that there's an omnipotent viewer following her adventures, so she monologues straight to camera while action is going on. So that's all.
It's a narrative choice.
I mean,
it's a narrative choice.
That's
Personally, I hate it.
Unless they're Jewish, then you
like
like
it. What they do in the Robert Downey Jr. versions, though, when he does the slow time thing, and he's.
But that's all inner monologue. It's
different
because it's inner monologue. He's not talking directly to camera. Moments are happening, and you hear him inner monologue. I'm okay with that. This is like she'll be doing something, and she'll turn to camera and be like, "Well, that was crazy, wasn't it?" And then to continue on.
Like, but if she was Millie Bobby Bloomberg, you'd be okay with it.
Yeah, of course I'd be okay. There's a moment where she's being drowned in a bucket.
Really cool with it.
There's a moment where she's being drowned in a bucket by one of the bad guys, and she pretends to be dead. And so the guy lets up, and then she has a moment where she winks to camera and then gets back up and gets away from him. Like, that's something I think is terrible. Okay. But whatever, it's lighthearted. Like I said, it definitely appeals to a slightly younger audience. Like for our generation, we got Harriet the Spy, which like fully I was reminded of watching this film. And I haven't watched Harriet the Spy since we were kids, but like that's all I could think of was, and I can't even tell you what happened in Harriet the Spy, who was in it, or anything about it other than it existed and it felt like the same thing. That's all I could. That's the only connection I could make
to
my childhood experience.
They had plans for?
So they're talking about 5 total. They just did this first one. It's very successful. Now they are being sued right now for this because of Henry Cavill's portrayal of Sherlock. And it's a really funny story because they probably have grounds for the suit. About 90 to 95% of all Sherlock Holmes material is public domain, except for this small part that's owned by this really douchey publishing company from the UK, and they're suing.
Quite.
Yes, they're definitely being quite that way. Buzz Killington. They're suing over his portrayal being too emotional, right?
So stupid.
And they have grounds. I mean, Helena Bonham Carter plays a big character. She's their mother. She basically said in an interview she loved this whole story because of how it's a giant kind of fuck you to Sherlock Holmes in his misogynist and emotionless ways. So that gives them grounds, just that statement alone, probably. There's a moment, and the percentage of Sherlock Holmes stories that they kind of claim ownership of still, one of the biggest draws, and you can tell it's from their material, is that Sherlock has not met John Watson or John. The other guy, Watson, right?
Dr. Watson.
John Watson. So he hasn't met him yet, which is like a lot of the story says he became more connected and emotional with John being his partner. But before that, he was nothing. And I mean, even they have grounds even within the film itself. I mean, there's a moment early on where Sherlock and Enola are kind of talking by a tree early in the movie. And Sherlock explains that Enola won't be a good detective if she's emotional. And then later in the movie, they're in this office, and Enola, which she does pretty much the whole movie, like teen angsty girl yelling at characters, like, and it's perfect. She crushes it. Like teen yelling at her mom angst. She's yelling at Sherlock about how he doesn't care about her, and like he says, "I do care," and she goes, "Aha, you're emotional. Look at what I did." Like they literally have that moment, and I lost it. I started laughing so hard because it just literally felt like, "Aha, gotcha." And I mean, at the same time, like I loved Henry Cavill's little bits as Sherlock Holmes. Like I would love to see more of him as Sherlock, because he just has that like air about him that crushes a character like that.
Would you say his portrayal is better than Robert Downey Jr.?
You didn't see enough of him to get that vibe. He's
just
like I said, he's a minor character. The story's not about him. Like the story is two stories basically, right? They pitch you that the A story is going to be about finding their mom, and that kind of takes a back seat and becomes the B story, and you just find out she's running off to become a terrorist.
Spoilers.
It's not. The A story becomes more about this actual like crime she's solving with a lot of murder and intrigue.
There's been a lot of murder and a lot of mayhem.
But and there's a little bit of a romance story, but it's very lighthearted, and they don't really dive into it too much. And I kind of hope they walk away from that character that they used for that, because he was the only bad actor in my opinion. Helena Bonham Carter was awesome too. The guy who played Mycroft, I don't know who he is.
He's in the Hunger Games.
Sure, but he was great. He was great. I thought he was awesome too. And then a couple of minor characters that pop up here and there. Now I will say that I've figured out the mystery or the case. I figured it out pretty quick personally. Sure. I don't think it was meant to be that hard. Sure, and did. Like one of the things I love, like, because I listen to Sherlock Holmes stories, I have a bunch of audiobooks that Benedict Cumberbatch reads, and I love how complicated some of the mysteries are, and how you really have to tune into the dialogue of Sherlock Holmes about what he's observing in order to figure out the truth in the crime before he does. But obviously, like I said, it was for a little bit younger audience, so it was a little easy to figure out if you paid enough attention. Although I am hoping that if I go back and rewatch it, pay more close attention, they bring up there's more stuff in the background about what became the B story with her mom running off. I mean, I say terrorist, really it's supposed to be a freedom fighter for women's rights and stuff like that, but you hope that there's a Moriarty character,
women's rights and terrorists. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah. Wow, I mean, it's all about who wins. It's all about who wins in the end, right? The winners write history, right? Midway.
It's funny because I thought when you said Enola Holmes, I really thought that this was like something to do with like Robert Downey Jr.'s wanting to create a cinematic universe surrounding Sherlock Holmes. Did you guys see that news?
I thought he was done with Sherlock Holmes, but I mean, with how bad Dr. Dolittle was, he's got to do something, right?
He's coming back to the MCU.
They're doing Sherlock Holmes 3, and they plan on creating like a whole cinematic universe around Sherlock Holmes. So that's where, when you said lawsuit too, I'm sitting there thinking, it has to be coming from like Warner Brothers or something.
I know Enola Holmes itself, she has her own like book material. I knew they drew from it, but I've never read them, and I don't know how much they actually drew from it. So you might be able to find out where they're trying to go with the whole story by reading books about her. So like that's already existed. That content has been out there. And so it has nothing to do with the Robert Downey Jr. universe. I mean, Sherlock's been so disconnected. There's so many Sherlock Holmes books and stories. It's kind of ridiculous.
For sure, though, Benedict Cumberbatch's version is the best current version.
I won't disagree. Although, like I said, I thought Henry Cavill, for as little as we saw him, I was so sold on his Sherlock Holmes that I just wanted to see so much more. I was so sold on how he carried himself as the character. Like, there's this moment where he's like walking into a police area and a cop's gonna stop him and he says, please, and just kind of keeps walking or something, or he says like don't or something like that. It just keeps going. And like it was bam, it was so good.
Dude, Henry Cavill can play any character, okay?
He's got
amazing.
tons of hype right now, though. Tons. Like, we just saw a lot of information come out about the new season of The Witcher, a lot of images for his new outfit and series' new outfit. And, like, the entire World of Warcraft community is on a buzz right now because there's some character that they want him to play. And, like, the images from The Witcher, they made a slight modification. Literally looks just like the dude. It's incredible.
But yeah, and he's a huge nerd too.
Huge. He used to be a fat kid. Too. So like there was this great story he talked about on the Graham Norton show once where he met the Gladiator, the guy who played Gladiator. Who am I thinking of?
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe. When he was at his prep school for an all-boys school and he was on the lacrosse team or some nonsense, but he was the fat kid. And he like came up to Russell Crowe and kind of like told him about that he wanted to be an actor and stuff. And Russell Crowe gave him like words of encouragement that like changed Henry Cavill's whole life, and he became Henry Cavill from that. And he like totally credits Russell Crowe for changing his life. It's a really cool story.
I have
Graham Norton show. Check it out.
One thing that he is in, so I actually had no clue who you were talking about.
Superman?
No, I saw him just in The Tudors.
Oh. Not even man, he did that spy movie that was okay. That remake.
The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Yeah. That was okay. It wasn't great.
He's also awesome in Mission Impossible.
I don't think I've seen. I haven't seen one since 4.
Oh, you mean when the organization gets disavowed?
We've been disavowed.
Yeah, Henry Cavill is amazing.
So I'm gonna give Enola Holmes a 4, bridging on a 5. I think it's definitely something you can check out, especially if you got family or like younger teenage girls or something. You want to do a family movie. I think it's a really good character and role model. And Millie Bobby Brown is awesome. Like she crushes her character. Yeah, and I think she's got such a cool future ahead of her. I'm so excited to see most of the stuff she does throughout her career. There's a lot of positive things to be said about this film. Think you should go watch it. It's been in the top 10 of Netflix since it released, and I think it'll hold there for quite a while.
I actually did. I watched about 30 to 45 minutes of it. My wife and I sat down and started watching it, and yeah, Millie Bobby Brown is absolutely amazing in it, for sure. Yeah, but we started watching it, and then I'm like, oh. This is a female empowerment movie.
Yeah, it's very much female empowerment. Like I said.
Well, then we kept watching it, and then I'm like, oh, this is like a teeny bopper movie.
Yeah, like I said, they definitely advertise it to us adults using Henry Cavill pretty strongly. It's very, like I said, it's Harriet the Spy, it's Nancy Drew, it's whatever other young detective things there are for females. There were a lot of those, I feel like, growing up. The Boxcar Boys, is that a thing? I might have made that up.
That's our thing. That's on the weekend.
I might have made that up. I might be a thing. I have no idea.
That's when the three of us get together and solve crimes down at the train yard.
Mystery team. But yeah, definitely check out Enola.
It's dangerous.
So great. And then you got to check out the brand new Star Wars Squadron, right, Brad?
Yeah, totally. So I'm an EA Play member, so they offered a 10-hour trial of the new Star Wars games, the Squadrons. So I downloaded it because I had thought it was mostly a short single-player campaign. I mean, they're only selling it for like $35. It's not a full price, last I checked. So I decided to check out the download and see if I could get through a big part of the campaign. There's a lot more to it than I thought. A lot of customization, which is, of course, where they're going to make their money off of it. Because you're eventually going to either buy cosmetic stuff or... I didn't even get that far. I think you play and you unlock stuff. But there is you play the story mode. You play as one Rebel fighter and one Imperial fighter. And there is some weird customization to that. You can give like male characters female voices and stuff. And it's very weird. It's very much just like, yeah, do whatever you want.
What do you mean that's weird?
But they in the 10-hour trial they only let you play the prologue for the story mode, so that's all I really got through.
So you got to play the trailer?
Yeah, I played basically that first game mode. I got through it. I
Not
won't
my
tell you about
gumdrop buttons.
I won't tell you the story about it and everything. I had some early problems with gameplay. It felt a little wonky, and they play you first person from the cockpit, which I personally hate. It's like the same people who drive in Grand Theft Auto 5 in first person. Like you have no spatial awareness, and like I'm running into everything, and
it seems like a game that was from the trailer or like from the reviews. It says like it's a game that's almost like made for VR.
If it is, I have no idea. I have no experience on VR whatsoever. But like I said, it put you in the cockpit, and your HUD was very much all in the cockpit, and your controls and everything. And I kind of felt like I don't know. I haven't played an Ace Combat game in a long time, but that's how I remember Ace Combat games being.
An Ace Combat, if you're trying to check it out on Game Pass,
sure.
Ace Combat 7.
But I don't know. Like the early stuff that I actually played was not that impressive. And like I said, if I'm gonna play one of those more like Battlefront style games, I think the multiplayer is more set up to be. They talk about war zones a lot or something like that. I think it's called. I didn't explore it. I would rather play in a third person and have spatial awareness. So I was pretty turned off to that pretty quick. The narrative seems like it might be okay. You kind of follow this Echo Squadron, and the first mission is about a defecting Imperial right after you destroy Alderaan. So I'm sure that the story itself is decent because it's Star Wars and it's all built into that. But like I said, in that trial, you could only get an hour, and I don't think I'll pay for it. If it shows up free in EA Player Game Pass, maybe I'll check it out some more. But I mean, unless some of you guys get into it real quick, I don't think I'll check out the multiplayer on my own. There was a lot of customization for different fighters and different pilots and stuff like that you could eventually unlock through either money, I'm sure, or playing the game more often. So if you're really into customization like that and enjoy the game, I think you'll find a lot of fun in it. But I think it's pretty limited too. You're just gonna do that and be done with it.
If you save some of your 10 hours when EA Play comes to Game Pass officially, I'll download it and I'll play some multiplayer with you.
I literally don't see me.
I'm not convinced I want to spend money on it after
you should
and what you said, because I'm just. And I heard the multiplayer, like the way they were describing it, almost sounded a little like they're trying to make it like a 4D space Overwatch, and I already have trouble playing in 3D space Overwatch.
A lot of trouble.
Seriously, moving in 4D space from a first-person cockpit was rough at times. I would do a roll, and then all of a sudden I was basically inside of a ship. And I'm dude, I'm not exploding yet, but damage is being dealt to me. And I'm like, where do I go? I could go any direction, but every direction is into another ship.
But can your shields handle firepower of that magnitude?
There are they do have little mechanics to boost your shield, boost your speed, boost your lasers, missiles, and all other sorts of stuff. But like I said, I only got about an hour. I didn't even get an hour into it. I got about 30 minutes into it. So no rating for me yet, but know that it doesn't look good. Don't look good.
Yeah, I think that game would be really fun to play in VR. In the cockpit looks way better in VR.
I just thought it was going to be like Rogue Squadron again, and Rogue Squadron games were so fire. So good.
So to actually, Brad, jump back on something you said earlier, how Henry Cavill was inspired by Russell Crowe. It reminded me of another story that I recommend you guys checking out, and everybody out there that's watching or listening to check out, just because I think it's cool. There's a Hugh Jackman interview where it's like the second, I think, Wolverine, one of the first or second solo Wolverine movies, and somebody's interviewing him on the red carpet, and he's like, asking him about his before he became famous and what he used to do, and he was telling him about how he used to be a gym teacher. And
Good old PE.
yeah,
Those who can't teach gym.
so he's like talking to him. He's like he's like I used to teach physical education. He's like, and actually it would really piss me off when the kids want to do what I say. Kids like you, Roland. And it was the guy interviewing him, and he remembered.
That's so good.
I remember
That's
seeing that.
so good.
That was good.
And so he just like throughout the interview, he keeps going off on him.
That's so good.
So, but like as a joke, so definitely look up Hugh Jackman. I don't know, red carpet gym teacher. It's definitely worth a watch.
Sounds like that's gonna be a risky click.
That's the internet. That's the fun of it.
Gotcha.
All right, so I got some games for you guys that I checked out and I want to tell you about. So the first game.
Talk so much about Henry Cavill, you'd have time.
Well, I mean, I'm not opposed to it. Henry Cavill's amazing. Mario 35. This game is nuts. Here's what it is. Have you guys seen trailers for it at all?
It's so nuts that I have not.
Yeah, well, you guys aren't Nintendo guys, so I'll take care
Anymore,
of the Nintendo sphere. So it's in honor of Mario's 35th anniversary. They took Tetris 99. Do you guys at least know what Tetris 99 is?
I feel like you've kind of talked about this already.
Yeah, I mentioned it was coming out, but now it's out, and I played it.
And now you want the world to know. Got it.
He wants the world to know.
So
Nintendo to show.
You're playing the original Super Mario Brothers.
It's coming out.
All right, stop. It's gonna be in my head all day. Original Super Mario Brothers, and in the middle of your screen and on the sides of your screen, you can see 34 other people playing at the same time, and you're trying to go through the level and be the last man surviving. And every time you jump on a guy and every time you kill a guy, you send it to a different person. And you can pick who you send it to. Like you can send it to whoever's like has the most coins or whoever's attacking you. So you just keep going through the game and it just keeps getting faster and crazier and more guys and harder and harder and more difficult. And it's really weird when you're in like the first world of Mario and like 3 Bowsers show up. And so it's crazy. It's nuts. And it's really fun. I'm not very good at it. I don't know why. I think it's the controls on the Switch Lite. I'm going to blame that. My wife is really good at it. She's loved it. She's
just a better gamer than you, though, but she secretly has been for years.
I'll kill you. That's my wife.
There was so much anger in that statement after that statement. That's my wife.
So much anger, so much truth.
Shut up. Tito's wife's obsessed with it right now too. I told her about it because I knew she was really good at Tetris 99, and Tito said she played it for like 2 hours straight after she downloaded it, which is pretty funny. So yeah, is it worth your time? It's free if you have Nintendo Online, which is $20 a year, which is a pretty good deal. So if you got a Nintendo Switch, get Nintendo Online. You get every Nintendo, or you get a giant library of Nintendo games and Super Nintendo games to play from, plus a couple free games here and there. It's worth it. I'll play here and there. I'll probably.
Can I fit that library in my house? I mean, you say it's giant.
I don't know. How big's your house?
It's like at least 3 times as big.
Then sure.
Perfect.
Yeah.
3 times bigger than this.
I can't say wait for till it's on sale because it's actually limited. They're gonna stop. You won't be able to download the game after March, or the game's going away after March. So it's like a limited.
So get it now or don't get it.
Yeah. So it's definitely worth your time. I'm still gonna give it a 3. It's not. You're not gonna play it forever, even if it did last forever. But it's worth checking out. It's fun. It's a cool idea. Something that's more fun is I'm sure you guys have seen like all the hype around Fall Guys right now, right?
Tons. I mean, between that and Among Us, it's like all you see right now.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a reason. It's hilarious. It is not the game that you're gonna like. But it's not gonna be game of the year probably. It's not like life changing. It's just fun. It's just something fun to do. It's for sure more fun for streamers because people are watching them play and it's funny.
Sure.
And it's definitely more fun playing with people. Like I'll play it with my wife. It's funny watching her try to get through it or watching me try to get through it. Playing by yourself, not as satisfying. It's definitely hilarious. It's set up like it's a game show. So every round there's a different obstacle course that you have to get to, and you're this big jelly bean blobby guy. So it's really hard to kind of operate him correctly, and you're just bumping your way through the levels hilariously, trying not to get yeeted by some other dude or Big Yeetus, which is a random hammer that will show up randomly. They call him Big Yeetus, and it's amazing. And yeah, it's just a fun game, but definitely not by yourself. Like I want to have people over this weekend so we can sit around, drink, and play this game. But I'm not going to play it during the week, probably.
I mean, I personally self-identify as an amorphous blob who likes to get yeeted. So it sounds like the game for me.
For sure. So what's it going to take to play this game? You can play it online on your PC. So
I didn't know that. Cool.
If you got a game PC, you're good to go. Or you can play it on your PlayStation. So you have to have a PlayStation 4. It's only $20. That's why I picked it up, because I thought I could play the computer, but apparently I was wrong. You have to have PlayStation Plus. So I had to buy a month subscription of PlayStation Plus to play, which was $10. So it cost me $30 to play this game and another $10 every month I want to keep playing it, basically. So that's the cost of entry to play this game. So I'm probably going to...
That's what it takes.
I'm going to play it for a month or two and then just probably cancel PlayStation Plus. Because I use Xbox Online, I don't need both. Who needs both?
People who don't care if they have both.
So Fall Guys, if you're with a group of people and you're drinking or you're hanging out with friends, it's a 5. Like that's what you're gonna do. Like it's play Fall Guys. If it's just you by yourself, we're giving it a 3. So that's a weird metric, but it's a party game. So that's what it is. With the little time that I have left, I want to tell you guys my MCU viewing order because I'm rewatching the Marvel movies because I like to have movies on in the background if I'm working or something, just something to listen to while I do mindless paperwork. Here's the right order. You guys ready? You don't
Sure.
You don't go chronologically. Like from when like the time period is, right? You don't start with Captain America and then go Captain Marvel. You don't watch them in the order that they came out in the movies. You watch it. Can you look less interested, Brad?
This is my
I'm listening
mostly
because I'm
mostly
actually
judging you.
currently I'm currently rewatching all the Marvel movies, and I'm currently doing it in the
I was
order
going
that they
for
were.
the Gene Wilder meme. Oh, so you think you climb mountains, do you?
Damn it. So I call it the Iron Man order, and basically you watch every movie with Iron Man in it. So that's Iron Man 1, 2, then you watch Avengers, and then you watch Iron Man 3, and then you watch Captain America 2. Okay, that's important.
I already just don't agree.
No, listen, let me finish. Then you watch Captain America
Let the
2,
man finish.
and then
Where the hell's this Thor guy come from?
you don't need. You already watched him plenty of times. Like this is not a first time viewing. Okay. Then
That's
you
the
watch.
fun part.
This is for experienced MCUers.
You get to watch all the Avengers movies, all the Iron Man movies, Captain America 2, Captain America 3, both Spider-Mans, and Thor Ragnarok. So the only 2 movies that Iron Man isn't in that you're watching is Captain America 2 and Ragnarok. And that's the perfect order. Just all the good ones. You just watch them.
No Guardians whatsoever. No
Right.
Guardians.
No.
You're
No.
crazy.
No,
You're
no,
super
no.
crazy.
BS.
It's the Iron Man viewing order, and it's perfect. And I only want to watch Tony Stark in all the movies, plus the other 2 really good ones.
Okay, that's it. I'm done.
We're gonna strongly disagree with you. We know you got a semi for a soft 9, if you will, for Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man.
Real wet.
Real wet for him. But we're gonna humbly disagree and say that you should probably watch most of the 22, 23, whatever number it is, MCU films to get the full gist of the story arc. Of all the characters.
This isn't for someone who hasn't watched the movies. This is for someone who's watched the movies tons of times, like I know you guys have.
Well, I mean,
Tons.
I'm currently
all
rewatching.
of them.
Like, I'm literally in the process of rewatching all the movies in order from which they were released. And honestly, I enjoy it because they have a really good story that interconnects all the movies together, and like catching the subtle, like going back and re-catching the subtle hints about like. I think it's Iron Man, and they talk about we have a problem out in the desert, and they're talking about Thor.
Yeah, that's Iron Man 2. That's in my viewing.
Right, but then you wanted to skip Thor, the next movie, which they just
not a good movie.
To. It was a great movie.
What's wrong with Kenneth Branagh, bro?
Yeah,
like
he's great in Tenet.
But I just enjoy that, and then skipping through the credits and watching the like teaser scenes where like. I already know what you're teasing. And
look, Thor 1 and Thor 2
anyway.
might not be great, but Thor's overall hero arc from all the movies is fantastic. And it gets culminated so well in Endgame that why would you want to miss the rest of the story?
You don't. I mean, I just rewatched all of them in order like 2 months ago, but now I want to just get to the good stuff that I care about. So it's the Iron Man order. It's amazing.
So this is for people who have seen all 23-ish movies 10 times at least.
For sure.
Yeah, not buying it. We're not buying it.
Your record collection's real meat and potatoes sauce.
Oh, gotcha.
By that I mean you don't have anything rare in there.
You guys don't get it.
He's got the free clips.
All the movies
all
with Iron Man. But whoever one of you guys was you or you talking about Thor's story arc. Another way you can rewatch the what's really cool about the
take out all the Iron Man and watch only the movies that have Thor in it.
Oh, all the garbage movies, okay, except for Ragnarok. You can do like a little arc. You can watch Thor 1, 2, 3, then Infinity War and Endgame. You can watch Captain America 1, 2, 3, then Infinity War and Endgame.
Oh, so you mean within your watch view, add all the other movies?
I'm just saying, if you want like a focused
like if you want
story,
to watch, you can watch all the Iron Man movies in this order, and then at the very end, you can add the Thors.
Just don't watch any of the post-credit scenes, and then watch them all before Infinity War.
I'm just saying, if you don't want to watch like 28 movies, you can get like a little micro story. You can watch Guardians 1, Guardians 2, then Infinity War and Endgame.
What about Ant-Man, bro? You didn't like
you
Ant-Man?
You can watch
Avengers 1.
Ant-Man 1, then Ant-Man 2, then Infinity War and Endgame,
But you could watch all.
And your favorite character, Spider-Man? You didn't even watch Spider-Man?
It's Iron Man's in Spider-Man, so that's included.
You didn't mention it.
Yes, I did mention it.
I don't believe
watching it in a saga type of thing where you go Avengers 1, 2,
and then
Ragnarok
Infinity War
3.
and Endgame.
Yeah, he already said that. You kind of just fell right into his trap.
Well, no, and then go back and immediately watch all the other movies in order.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, I'm gonna watch them all in order again.
No, just go like flashback. How did we get here? Oh
Just
my
put them on a random wheel and spin it, and then just watch whatever one comes up. Even if you land on Iron Man 2 6 times in a row, just watch it. Just do it.
I'm on Iron Man 3 right now.
For sure. After rewatching all the ones I just watched, Ragnarok is my
best.
Every scene is good. Like every scene has something interesting or funny or just like very emotional.
You're gonna see a lot of copycats.
If you don't stop talking about the Iron Man viewing, we're gonna pull out the melt stick. It's time for the melt stick.
Pardon you from life.
like burnt toast.
And we're over time here, so we're gonna pardon you guys from this conversation and finish this episode here. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Make sure to hit us up on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff, Twitter. Download us on your favorite podcasting service at TimeSyncPod. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.